Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, out here enjoying my favorite color, which is October, but I had to share with you this video clip I came across of an MSNBC panelist absolutely panicking over the midterms. Check it out.
And then you see a woman who's raising 4 kids on $400 a week. And you go, nothing else matters to her. There's no argument other than guess what? We're going to figure out a way to make bread more affordable to you. I mean, there's just, when it's about survival, when it's about these issues that just, they can't live. Now, you can scare them and say it could get worse. They could take your health care away. I mean, that's a strategy to go. But, if she is representative of a big part of the populace, and she is, and now let's even factor in people who've seen their IRAs, not a woman like that necessarily, but who've seen their IRAs go down by 25%. It's really tough, and I've come on the show and talked a lot about that. You got to scare people and make it about the Republicans that are crazy people. But even with the pending crazy, when you can't afford to buy the stuff that you were able to buy a year or 2 or 3 years ago, it's tough sledding. I hate to be negative Minnie over here. I don't even know what the hell that means, but I am really scared about a bloodbath 10 days from now.
Now, what he's alluding to there is basically what's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You may be familiar with this. The 20th century psychologist Abraham Maslow, he created a model that prioritizes our innate human needs. So it begins with foundational physiological needs: air, food, water, shelter, fire. And then once we attain that, then we can fulfill the next set of innate needs, which are safety needs. So security from threats, health needs, resources, employment. And then one is able to go to the next level, which are relational needs. So that involves, of course, friendship, intimacy, and on and on and on. So what these panelists are recognizing here is that this upcoming midterm election is more and more centering on the foundational level of Maslow's hierarchy. A single mom with 4 kids is worried about food and fuel. She's worried about hunger and heat this coming winter. And all the Democrats have to offer in response are a bunch of meaningless slogans like, we need to save our democracy. And, it's not really a recession. And, inflation actually can be good for you. And then this fellow goes up the hierarchy needs. Okay, so then there are people out there who can feed their families and heat their homes, but then they look at their IRAs, they look at their 401ks or investments, and that's the next level of the needs hierarchy. And they too are starting to freak out as they see those numbers dissipate. And again, what are they hearing in response? They're hearing the Democrats say, well, January 6th, and, Trump is the single greatest threat to democracy and the like, even though he's not running for anything. So this messaging campaign by the Democrats is an absolute disaster, and that is the precise conclusion of this ultra-leftist panel at MSNBC. And again, we have studies on how midterms play out in correlation to these hierarchy needs, whether these needs are being met or not met, and that always shows up in terms of presidential approval. Generally speaking, if the economy is going well, that means then these innate psychological needs are being met, and therefore, at least at the fundamental levels, physical safety and like, and therefore the president's approval ratings will be above 50%. However, if people are facing the kind of economic fallout that we're facing today, it's no surprise that we're seeing Biden's approval tanking into the 30s. And I've mentioned this before, but Harry Olson over at the Ethics and Public Policy Center, he just published a fascinating study where he analyzed all the various midterms of the past. So this is going back decades, right? And what he found was a fixed common factor in all of them. In every single midterm, the results were directly related to the approval rating of the president. Every single midterm, including the ones that went great for the sitting president, like the 2002 midterms, where the Republicans actually gained seats in Congress. Bush's approval was through the roof. It was just months after 9/11. And what's so fascinating about the study is Olson concluded that of all these things that we give attention to, you know, the quality of the candidate, right? That kept coming up with Herschel Walker, the amount of money that's being spent on the campaign, the amount of media time and attention, whatever it is, all of that, ultimately, none of that mattered according to the historical data. None of it mattered. What ultimately matters is presidential approval. And presidential approval is inextricably linked to these hierarchy needs. In addition, another major indicator is right track, wrong track polls. Again, midterms consistently play out in accordance with voters' attitudes towards the direction of the country. And unfortunately for Biden and the Democrats, the latest right track, wrong track polls are utterly devastating. We're talking anywhere from 70 to 80% of the public thinks the nation is going on the wrong track. You know, I know, duh. And so what we consistently see play out here is that voters overwhelmingly side with the candidates who represent opposition to this, right? That's the way they express, these voters express their dissatisfaction with how things are going. They vote for the opposition candidate. And again, they don't care who that candidate is. So when it comes to the two major indicators that are most determinative for determining how a midterm election plays out, Biden and the Democrats are screwed. I mean, they're getting killed. They're getting absolutely pummeled. And that's being corroborated by the generic ballots. So when people are asked, who do you plan to vote for Congress in the upcoming election, the Republican candidate or the Democrat candidate, right? That's a generic ballot. Every single poll that's been coming out over the last week, virtually every single one, shows Republicans with a very significant lead. The latest Rasmussen has Republicans up 7, right? And the reason, of course, is that the president's approval rating is causing independents to side with Republicans upwards by 20 points. So, and that's just too big for most Democrats to overcome. So there you go. MSNBC is flipping out that we're about to see an electoral slaughter just days from now. And I can tell you, I, for one, will be reveling in the liberal tears. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. And you will definitely want to check out my latest video on how CNN is almost done. They're issuing mass layoffs as their ratings implode. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on that link and I'll see you over there. God bless.